Hey, I'm the MMA loser and I'm back with another video. And today I'm going to make a video which kind of hurts me as a fan. It is heartbreaking. It is a sad video that I'm going to make. This is a video where I'm going to talk about the fight between Paddy and Tony Ferguson, El Kukui, or what he used to be at one point of a time, the boogeyman of the UFC lightweight division, the man that everyone feared, the man with whom, if you got inside the cage, your face was going to look like you were in a car accident. Now that man is just a shell of his previous self. He is, I feel like he's broken and it's heartbreaking. Still, I'm going to make this video because I have to. And you are seeing Paddy the Paddy showing his jiu-jitsu on the screen. His jiu-jitsu is good. I'm not going to lie about that. His jiu-jitsu is, in my opinion, very good. Is it as good as Damian Maia? I do not think so. But his jiu-jitsu is pretty good. In prime, Tony Ferguson jiu-jitsu would have been better. But right now, the Tony Ferguson, who is almost 40 years old, he's going to turn 40 this February. So that is this February, I mean 2024, he's going to turn 40 years old in lightweight division, and he's on a 6-fight losing streak. Tony Ferguson is not looking good, and he hasn't looked good since that fight with Justin Gaethje that he took, which was unnecessary in my opinion. He should have waited for the title shot. I think he would have lost to Khabib in my opinion, but we never know. You never know. But it is what it is. It's bad luck. And here you can see Tony Ferguson training with David Goggins, one of the toughest men on earth, as he claims to be. David Goggins is an endurance athlete who runs miles, hundreds and hundreds of miles. But the problem is Tony doesn't need to run 100 miles in this fight. He needs to fight with another man for 15 minutes inside an octagon, inside the cage, which I'm fairly certain David Goggins has no experience of. And Tony Ferguson has never really had a really good camp. He has always done things his way, which has proved to be very good for him in the past. He was the interim lightweight champion. He was considered to be the second best lightweight, or at one point of time, he was considered to be the best lightweight as well. He was the fighter that everyone thought could defeat Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, could he? We never know. We will never know the answer to that question because Khabib is retired, became a champion, retired. He is now busy with his family and everything. And Tony is here fighting with up and comers and also Paddy. So it doesn't make any sense for Tony to take this fight, but Tony has always been a little cuckoo in the head. I don't know how else to say it. He has always been a little, respectfully, a little different. But it is what it is. That is what made Tony Ferguson great, but now he's paying the prices. He has been hit in the head a couple of times, way more than what he should have been hit. And he is showing the signs of CTE. A lot of the fighters of UFC, they do show signs of CTE, but in Tony's case, it is just worse. But I don't know. If you want me to give you a short answer for this fight, the short prediction for this fight, I would say Tony Ferguson is going to lose this fight. I don't know how. I just feel like he's going to lose this fight. Because if you lost against someone like Bobby Green, I mean, Bobby Green is definitely a better striker than Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett is a terrible striker, but he has got good grappling. Is his grappling as good as Makachev, Sarukian, or I don't know, Gamrot? No, his grappling is not at their level, but he's definitely a good grappler. He's in a better shape physically and mentally than Tony Ferguson at this point of time. That is what I believe in. I may be wrong. I'll be happy to be wrong. I'll be really happy if Tony Ferguson somehow manages to get a win and rides off to the sunset as a winner, which I doubt will happen because Tony is someone who just wants to keep fighting, which I think Tony should have retired probably 3 fights back. He took some unnecessary damage in the last couple of fights. In that Justin Gaethje fight, he got really badly injured. He went out on his feet. He got knocked. I feel like he got knocked out on his feet. Herb Dean stopped the fight. Tony at the very moment he was protesting, but later on he went ahead and accepted the fact that he lost. After that, he lost to Benil, he lost to Charles, he lost to who else has he lost? Yeah, he lost to Michael Chandler. That Michael Chandler soccer kick to his head, the standing soccer kick, that I think did the most amount of damage that I think in Tony's career. He has already taken a lot of damage, but that was really bad. After that, he went ahead and fought against Nate, which I think was a good fight because is also not in his physical prime. But in that fight, Tony he lost by submission. I believe he got. I think it was a guillotine that he lost by, or maybe a arm triangle, or maybe a triangle. I'm not. I cannot remember. I think it was a guillotine. And Nate put him in. Again, Nate Diaz is not in his prime, but yet he defeated Tony Ferguson. That would have been a really good fight, Nate and Tony in their prime. I think that would have been a banger. They both have really good gas tank. They both had really good gas tank. They both had really good jiu-jitsu. And they both had really good boxing as well. Like weird, Tony was weird, whereas Nate was not exactly that weird, but it's still weird. And of course, in his last fight, he lost to Bobby Green, and he lost by, I believe, an arm triangle. Bobby Green, who never really wrestles, never really grapples, choked out Tony Ferguson. That hurts. It hurts to see this as a Tony fan, as a fan of the sport, as a fan who has seen El Cucuy do his work. But it is what it is. I believe somebody needs to have a conversation with Tony. Again, I'm not Tony's father, brother, son. I'm not related to him. I'm just a fan. I'm just a person who has seen this man fight, who has seen this man take punishment inside the octagon. I believe someone should tell him maybe in his family, maybe in his friend circle, they should tell him that he should hang up the gloves for good. But I also feel like I think after this fight, the UFC might cut him. The UFC might part ways with Tony. They might release him. And I also feel that if the UFC releases Tony, he will sign up for PKFC, that's Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. I feel like he might do that, and he might get really badly knocked out by Mike Perry. I see that happening. For some reason, I see that happening, and it feels bad. In this fight, Tony Ferguson is in this fight. Paddy Pimblett is going to have the upper hand when it comes to the physical strength. I think he's stronger than Tony. I think Paddy is stronger than Tony at this point of time. I genuinely feel like that. I mean, if Paddy is younger. He's 28 years old. He is kind of in his athletic prime, or maybe he still hasn't reached his physical or athletic prime. He Because he's 28, he still has a couple of years to grow in the sport. Which I mean, I would say not exactly physically, but I would say experience-wise. He has had a couple of fights. He's probably had 20 fights till now. I'm not exactly sure. He has had 23 fights. He has lost only three. 20 and 3 is actually a respectable record. But in his last fight with Jared Gordon, which was a controversial win that he has had over Jared Gordon, most of the MMA fans and media thought that Jared Gordon won that fight by unanimous decision, but he lost by, I believe, unanimous decision, which is weird. And it is what it is. I do not exactly want to say. I mean, a win is a win. I see a lot of people clamoring about it, but a win is a win. And in this fight, I think he's going to submit Tony Ferguson probably in the very first round. Yes, that is going to be my official prediction for Tony versus Paddy. I think Paddy the Paddy is going to submit Tony Ferguson in the very first round by an RNC. I think so, or maybe a guillotine. Most probably an RNC. Because Tony, in his last two fights, he got submitted by both Bobby Green and Nate Diaz. I think Nate Diaz might have better jiu-jitsu than Paddy, but again, Nate is also not in his physical prime, neither is Bobby. But I think it is what it is. But I do have to say the fact that Tony has better striking than Paddy. I don't know right now because in his last fight, Paddy did get clipped by Jared Gordon a couple of times. So in this fight, I do not know what's going to happen. But my money is on Paddy winning this fight. It hurts me to say that Tony Ferguson is going to get beaten up real bad. But it is what it is. Somebody needs to have this conversation with Tony about, calling it quits and going for something else, finding something different that he can do and be happy with it. But I don't know who's going to have this conversation with him. I do not think he listens to anybody because all his fighting career, he never really had any coaches or this or that. It is what it is, man. He had Eddie Bravo in his corner for some time. Then he was the head coach of his training. So that's not exactly a good sign. You need someone to look over you, look after you. You need someone to tell you what your mistakes are when you're training, especially in a sport like mixed martial arts. If you're bodybuilding, it's different. But it is what it is. We'll get to see the Probably this might be the last time you're seeing Tony Ferguson in the UFC on 17th of December or maybe 16th. I don't exactly remember. But this might be the last time you're seeing Tony Ferguson in UFC because he might retire after this, or I'm fairly certain UFC will cut him because it is what it is. It's just this video is becoming really long. I just don't know. It kind of hurts me. I just want to say so much. I want to talk so much about Tony, but I don't know. Even if he loses this fight and he retires, we should remember how Tony Ferguson fought and the crazy win streak that he had. I believe 12 fights, 13 fights, or something crazy. That win streak that he has had. He defeated Who's Who, Edson Barboza, RDA, Josh Thompson, Kevin Lee, Cowboy Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, who's who of this of the lightweight division, and he became an interim champ. Man, we got to respect Tony Ferguson for what he has contributed to the sport. But yeah, I'm going to just give you my final prediction. I feel in this fight in UFC 296 between Tony Ferguson and Paddy Pimblett, I feel like Paddy Pimblett is going to finish Tony Ferguson probably in the very first or maybe second round. And yeah, that is my official prediction. And peace out.